Hey. Tonight's one of my favorite stories of all times in the Bible. It's the Great Mount Carmel Showdown. Dun, 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 dun. Are you ready to rumble? So think about, I don't know. Think about theme music you hear in a stadium because God's fixing to show up. It's going to be awesome! So, before we get to the story, just got to talk about it's not been raining now for 3 years. Says 1 Kings chapter 18. After a long time, in the third year, the word of the Lord came to Elijah. He said, I will send rain upon the land. So, Elijah went to present himself to Ahab. Now, Ahab had one of his workers. I think this is pretty cool. One of his workers, his name was Obadiah. He was in charge of the palace. And sneaky Obadiah was in love with the Lord. And he had hidden 100 of God's prophets. He put 50 in one cave and 50 in another cave. And he was providing them with food and with water and taking care of their needs under Ahab's rule without Ahab knowing about it, because in the meantime, while Obadiah, the guy in charge of the palace, was taking care of God's prophets, Ahab's wife, Jezebel, was having as many as she could possibly find killed. And she also had this huge manhunt going on for Elijah. What a manhunt is when there's a criminal, somebody really, really bad, has done something horrible, and they let all the police know, all the states know, everyone is on high alert. There's wanted signs everywhere. It's on the news, it's on the radio, everybody knows what the guy looks like. They're showing it on the TV. Everyone's talking about it. They're all looking for this person that's like a criminal, and they're going to get him and catch him and put him in jail. And Jezebel, who is Ahab's wife, was treating Elijah like that, and she was looking for him everywhere. Okay? So, Elijah goes to Obadiah, and he finds him. They're walking, and they see each other, and since God told Elijah, I'm going to send rain, and he sent him to present him to Ahab, he sees Obadiah. And he says, Oh, Obadiah, I'm here to see Ahab. Please go get him and tell him that Elijah is here to see him. And Obadiah knows that everyone has been looking everywhere for him. And he said, so Elijah said, Go tell your master Elijah is here. And Obadiah's response was, What have I done wrong? Asked Obadiah that you're going to hand your servant over to Ahab to put me to death. As surely as the Lord lives, there is not a nation or kingdom where my master has not sent someone to look for you, the manhunt. And whenever a nation or kingdom claimed you were not there, he made them swear. But now you're telling me that you want me to go to my master and say, Elijah is here. I don't know where the Spirit of the Lord may carry you when I leave you. So basically he's like, man, you have been so awesome at evading Ahab and Jezebel. There is no way God is with you. He's going to hide you. If I go tell Ahab you're here, and then says, yet if your servant says, when I leave, if I go and tell Ahab and he doesn't find you, he will kill me. So he basically makes Elijah promise, and Elijah promises. He says, as long as the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I will surely present myself to Ahab today. So he promises. So Obadiah goes and tells Ahab. And then Elijah comes before the wicked King Ahab. And this is what Ahab has to say to him. He says, so Obadiah went and met Ahab and told him. Ahab went and met Elijah. When he saw Elijah, he said to him, is that you, you troubler of Israel? Basically, you are causing all this. This is all your fault. We don't have any rain, we don't have any crops, we're all hungry, we don't have any water, everybody's smelly because nobody takes any baths anymore. It's all your fault. So, reminds me of, Miss, I don't have a pencil, Miss, I don't have a paper, Miss, you didn't teach me right, Miss. So, Elijah says, I have not made trouble for Israel, but you and your fathers, your family has. You have abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. Now summon the people all over Israel. So he's going to get all the people and summon the 850 prophets of Baal and Asher. And we're going to meet on Mount Carmel. This is what he says. He says, if the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. How long will we waver between these two opinions? He's basically, okay, it's time. We're going to prove who the real God is. You get all your 850 prophets together. I won against 850. We're all going to go to Mount Carmel, and we're going to prove who God is. So, he set out, he gave 2 bulls and 2 altars. And he says, who wants to go first? And the prophets of Baal said, we'll go. So they cut their bull up and put it on the altar to the idol. And they took the bull given to them, they prepared it. Then they called on the name of Baal from morning till noon. Oh, Baal, answer us, they shouted. But there was no response. No one answered. And they danced around the altar they had made. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. Shout louder, he said. Surely he is a god. Shout louder. I can see they're all tired and thirsty. And Elijah says, perhaps he is in a deep thought. Or maybe he's busy. Or maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's sleeping. He must be awakened. So they shouted louder. They slashed themselves with swords and spears, as was their custom, until the blood flowed. Midday passed. They continued frantically prophesying until this time of the evening sacrifices. There was no response. No one answered. No one paid any attention. So then Elijah stood up, and he had to go to his altar, which was the Lord's altar. And very sadly, he couldn't get right to work. He actually had to repair the altar first, because it was broken, because no one had been doing anything with it for so long. He repaired the altar to the Lord. He cut up the bull. He put it on the altar. Then he filled 4 large jars of water, poured it on the offering once. Then he did it again, and then he did it again. So he said, do it a 3rd time. He ordered, and they did it a 3rd time. A total of 12 gigantic buckets of water on top of the bull. Okay? So what puts out fire? Water, right? So if you wanted to start a fire, the worst possible thing you could do is get all the wood and then get it all wet. There's no way it's going to catch on fire, because water and fire are opposites, right? Water puts out fire. If we were playing rock, paper, scissors, fire would lose to water all the time, right? So Elijah's doing what we call, what is that called? Suspense, or I don't know, setting up the story to where it's going to be awesome. Whatever that word is. Y'all help me out. So, then he prayed. And let's see how did he pray? Notice, did he pray all day long? Did he cut himself? Did he dance? Let's see how he prayed. At that time, Prophet Eli stepped forward and prayed, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, O Lord, today, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. His biggest concern was for the people. And he wanted the people's hearts to be turned back to the Lord. So you think the Lord's going to answer that prayer? So what they're trying, the whole portion of it is whoever's God called down fire and burned up the sacrifice, that was the one that was God. So there was no response from Baal. So after Elijah's prayer, let's see what happened. Then fire of the Lord fell, burning up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil. It also licked up the water in the trench. So, I think the Lord is God. Burned the rocks and the water and the dirt. So, I love this next part. It's like, I'm going really long, I know, but next part is Elijah kicking butt for God. He said, all the people immediately cried out, and they said, the Lord, He is God, the Lord, He is God. It's obvious God, the Lord, He is God, the Lord, He is God. And they're like, Baal is not God, the Lord, He is God. And Elijah said, seize all the prophets of Baal. So all the people, hundreds and hundreds of people, grabbed the prophets. They all took it to the valley, and they killed them all. And Elijah kicked butt for God. Really cool story. Love you guys. Have a good night.